What if I told you that the monster haunting your nightmares was born just 16 years ago? That every terror-filled moment you've spent looking over your shoulder in a dark forest wasn't because of some ancient evil, but because someone, somewhere, decided to create the perfect predator for the digital age? The year is 2009. The place, a comedy forum that's about to become ground zero for one of the most disturbing phenomena in internet history. And you're about to discover how a simple photograph contest spawned a monster so terrifying, so real-feeling, that it would eventually drive children to attempt murder. Welcome to the twisted birth of Slender Man, and trust me, this story gets darker than you think.
June 10th, 2009. Mark that date. Remember it, because that's when everything changed. A forum called Something Awful, ironically named given what was about to emerge from it, hosted a Photoshop competition. The rules were simple, almost innocent. Take normal photographs and edit them to look paranormal. Make the mundane mysterious. Transform the ordinary into the otherworldly. Dozens of users participated, submitting their ghostly apparitions and UFO sightings. Most were forgettable, destined to be scrolled past and forgotten within hours. But then, user Victor Surge, real name Eric Knudsen, uploaded 2 images that would fundamentally alter internet culture forever. 2 black and white photographs, children playing, a playground, normal, safe, innocent, except for him. In the background, barely noticeable at first glance, stood something that shouldn't exist. A figure, impossibly tall, impossibly thin, dressed in a black suit that seemed to absorb light itself, arms too long, hanging at unnatural angles, and where a face should be, nothing, an absence, a void where humanity should exist. The captions that changed everything. But here's where Knudsen's genius truly showed. He didn't just post creepy pictures, he gave them context, history, a mythology. Beneath the first image, a caption written as if from a witness. We didn't want to go, we didn't want to kill them, but its persistent silence and outstretched arms horrified and comforted us at the same time. Read that again. Horrified and comforted. What kind of entity can make you feel terror and solace simultaneously? What kind of presence breaks your mind so completely that you find peace in its wrongness? The second caption mentioned 14 missing children, disappearances, a library fire, and then, almost casually, as if the name itself was dangerous to speak, the Slender Man. These weren't just photographs anymore. They were archaeological evidence of something ancient and terrible. They were police reports from a nightmare. They were the last remaining proof that something had happened, something that our rational minds couldn't quite accept. And the internet believed.
What happened next was unprecedented. Within hours, the Something Awful thread exploded. Users weren't just commenting, they were contributing, adding to the mythology, building upon Knudson's foundation like archaeologists excavating a shared nightmare. New photographs emerged, Slender Man in the background of birthday parties, lurking at the edge of schoolyards, standing motionless in the woods behind unsuspecting hikers. Each image came with its own fragment of story, its own piece of the puzzle. This is what we call creepypasta, horror stories that spread like a virus through copy and paste. But Slender Man was different. He wasn't just a story. He was becoming a legend, an entity with no single canonical narrative, which somehow made him more real. After all, real monsters don't follow screenplay structure. Real horrors are inconsistent, contradictory, impossible to fully understand. Some stories painted him as a child predator, spiriting away the young and innocent. Others described a being that could induce slender sickness, nosebleeds, paranoia, memory loss, coughing fits, a psychological and physical plague wrapped in a suit. And his abilities, they grew with each retelling. He could teleport, extend his limbs to impossible lengths, sprout tentacle-like appendages from his back, cause technology to malfunction, cameras to glitch, recordings to corrupt. He could make you forget you'd seen him, only to appear in photographs you didn't remember taking. But perhaps most terrifying of all, he had no motivation, no understandable goal, no tragic backstory to make him sympathetic. He simply was, an inevitable force, a glitch in reality itself. Marble Hornets, the Game Changer. Just weeks after Knudson's original posts, something extraordinary happened. A YouTube series called Marble Hornets premiered, and it would become the gold standard for Slender Man content. The premise was deceptively simple. Film student discovers disturbing footage his friend shot for a student film project before experiencing a mental breakdown. As he investigates, he begins to notice something in the background of the footage. A figure, tall, faceless, watching. The series never called him Slender Man, copyright reasons, they claimed. Instead, they named him the Operator, but everyone knew, everyone understood what they were watching. The genius of Marble Hornets was its format. Found footage, grainy, authentic feeling. The camera would glitch and distort whenever the entity appeared, adding a layer of digital corruption to the physical horror. You weren't watching a TV show, you were watching someone's descent into madness, documented in real time. The episodes were released sporadically, sometimes with weeks between uploads. The comment sections became archaeological digs, with viewers analyzing every frame, every audio distortion, every cryptic symbol, looking for clues. The line between fiction and reality blurred. Some viewers convinced themselves it was real. Others created elaborate ARGs, alternate reality games, expanding the mythology further. Marble Hornets proved something crucial. Slender Man worked best when treated seriously, when the horror was atmospheric, patient, and treated the audience as intelligent enough to fill in the terrifying blanks themselves. Slender, the 8 pages.
The year Slender Man left the realm of passive consumption and became interactive horror. Slender, the 8 pages, was developed by Parsec Productions, essentially one guy working with free Unity assets. The premise couldn't be simpler. You're alone in a dark forest at night. You have a flashlight with limited battery. Scattered around the map are 8 manuscript pages. Collect them all to escape. Oh, and Slender Man is hunting you. The game understood something fundamental about horror: powerlessness. You can't fight, you can't reason with the threat, you can only run, and even that might not be enough. The mechanics were brutal in their elegance. Look at Slender Man for too long, your screen fills with static. He gets closer. Look away and run, but the more pages you collect, the more aggressive he becomes, the more desperate your situation. And the sound design. God, the sound design. Your character's heartbeat pounding in your ears, growing faster as danger approaches. This subtle audio distortion that tells you he's near. The complete silence that means he's right behind you. The game became a YouTube phenomenon. Let's Players screamed their way through it, their genuine terror creating some of the most viral content of the early 2010s. PewDiePie, Markiplier, countless others, they all faced the Slender Man, and millions watched them break. Suddenly, Slender Man wasn't just something you read about or watched. He was something you experienced, something that could make you the victim, and that changed everything. The success spawned a sequel, Slender: The Arrival, which expanded the mythology with more locations, more lore, and more ways to die in absolute terror.
Why did he win? Here's the million-dollar question. Why Slender Man? Why did this particular creation explode when thousands of other internet monsters faded into obscurity? The blank canvas theory. That featureless face is crucial. When you look at Slender Man, your brain tries to fill in the details. It projects your own fears onto that blank void. He becomes whatever terrifies you most. He's personalized horror, custom built by your own subconscious. Modern folklore. For centuries, every culture had its monsters. The boogeyman, skinwalkers, wendigos, yokai. These legends served purposes, teaching children lessons, explaining the unexplainable, giving form to abstract fears. Slender Man is our generation's contribution to that tradition. He's the campfire story for the digital age, spread not through whispers, but through fiber optic cables. The trust problem. We live in an era of digital manipulation, deepfakes, Photoshop, pics or it didn't happen culture. Slender Man's origin story, photoshopped into old photographs, plays directly into our modern anxiety about truth. If he can edit himself into historical records, into photographs, into memories, how do we know he wasn't always there? Collaborative ownership. No single person owns Slender Man. Legally complicated, but culturally true. He belongs to everyone and no one. This means everyone can contribute. Everyone can make him their own. He evolves, adapts, becomes more resilient because he has no single canonical weakness.
The stalker archetype, in an age of surveillance, of being constantly watched through cameras and social media, Slender Man embodies that anxiety. He's always watching, always there, just out of sight, the ultimate stalker who can never be blocked, never be escaped.
And now we reach the darkest chapter of this story. The moment when internet horror escaped the screen and invaded reality in the most horrific way imaginable. May 31st, 2014, Waukesha, Wisconsin. Two 12-year-old girls, we'll call them by their court-assigned initials, MG and AW, invited their friend, also 12, to a sleepover. They seemed like normal preteens. They giggled, played, acted like any other children their age. But they had a plan. The next morning, they lured their friend into the woods, and there they attacked her. 19 stab wounds. They left her for dead in the forest, crawling toward a bicycle path where a passing cyclist would eventually find her and call for help. Miraculously, impossibly, the victim survived. The knife had missed her heart by a millimeter. When police caught MG and AW, their explanation was chilling. They did it for Slender Man. They believed they needed to kill to become his proxies, his servants. They thought he was real. They thought he was watching. They thought murdering their friend would earn his approval, would protect their families from his wrath. Let that sink in. Two children, so consumed by an internet legend, so unable to distinguish fiction from reality, that they attempted murder. The aftermath and the questions. The aftermath was devastating and complex. The victims suffered psychological trauma that will likely last a lifetime, though she's shown incredible resilience. The two perpetrators were tried as adults, a controversial decision given their ages and apparent mental health struggles. Both were eventually sentenced to lengthy stays in mental health institutions. Eric Knudsen, the creator, released a statement expressing horror at what had happened. The Marble Hornets crew, the game developers, the fan fiction writers, everyone connected to the phenomenon was forced to reckon with an impossible question. When does creative fiction become dangerous? This tragedy forced uncomfortable conversations. At what age can children distinguish fantasy from reality? What responsibility do creators have for how their work is interpreted? How do we protect vulnerable minds in an age of unlimited internet access? Can fiction be so immersive, so convincing, that it becomes psychologically dangerous? There are no easy answers. Mental health professionals noted that the two girls showed signs of pre-existing conditions, schizophrenia spectrum disorders, lack of empathy, detachment from reality. Slender Man didn't create these problems, but he may have provided a framework for already disturbed minds to justify violence. Important note: if you or someone you know struggles with distinguishing reality from fiction, experiences persistent intrusive thoughts about harming yourself or others, or feels controlled by fictional entities, please seek help immediately. Contact a mental health professional, call the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline, or speak with a trusted adult. These feelings are not shameful. They're medical issues that respond to treatment. You deserve support.
Hollywood tries and fails. By 2018, Hollywood decided Slender Man was ready for the big screen. a major studio film was released, attempting to capitalize on the character's internet fame. It was a disaster. Critics panned it, audiences ignored it. The film currently sits at a dismal rating on Rotten Tomatoes, remembered only as a cautionary tale about what happens when you try to corporatize grassroots horror. Why did it fail so spectacularly? Because the filmmakers made a fundamental mistake. They tried to explain Slender Man, give him a clear origin, define his rules, make him fit into a traditional three-act structure with a climax and resolution. But that's not how Slender Man works. His power comes from ambiguity, from the unknown, from the fact that he can be different things to different people. By defining him, Hollywood killed him. The movie tried to capture lightning in a bottle, but lightning doesn't work that way. You can't manufacture viral phenomena. You can't create genuine internet folklore in a corporate boardroom. What survives? So, where does Slender Man stand today, in 2026? The viral hysteria has faded. The YouTube Let's Plays have moved on to newer games. Marble Hornets concluded its story years ago. The Something Awful thread is archived, a digital tomb of where it all began. But Slender Man endures. He appears in memes, in TikToks, in YouTube shorts. New generations discover him and create their own interpretations. He's taught in media studies courses as an example of digital folklore. Academic papers analyze his cultural impact. He proved something many didn't believe possible. The internet can create genuine mythology, not just jokes or memes that fade in weeks, but lasting cultural touchstones that rival centuries-old legends. Slender Man showed us the most effective horror doesn't rely on jump scares or gore. It's atmospheric, psychological. It's the feeling that something is fundamentally wrong with reality. It's the face you almost see when you look too quickly at the trees. It's the figure in the background of old photographs that you don't remember being there. He demonstrated the incredible power of collaborative creativity, what happens when thousands of minds contribute to a single mythos. No novelist, no film director, no game designer could have created Slender Man alone. He required the hive mind of the internet, each person adding their own fears, their own interpretations. And yes, he revealed the dangers too. The Waukesha tragedy will forever be part of his story, a reminder that our creations have power beyond entertainment, that vulnerable minds can be influenced by fiction in ways we don't fully understand, that with creative power comes genuine responsibility.
Slender Man is the first true monster of our era, not born from campfire stories or ancient folklore, but from forum posts and Photoshop contests, not spread through whispered warnings, but through viral videos and creepypasta threads. He emerged from the digital woods fully formed, as if he'd always been waiting there, just out of frame. And in a way, maybe he was. Maybe every monster that humanity has ever feared was just a different interpretation of the same thing, the unknowable, the thing that watches from the darkness, the predator we can't fight or understand. We just gave him a suit and tie. From a simple Photoshop contest to a complex, tragic, and enduring cultural phenomenon, the story of Slender Man is a uniquely modern horror tale. It's folklore created in real time, watched and documented by millions. It's a legend unveiled not around crackling fires, but through the cold glow of computer screens. He proves that in our hyper-connected world, new myths can emerge practically overnight, that ancient human fears simply adapt to new mediums, that the monster under the bed has moved. He's now in the corrupted pixels of your screen, in the static of your recordings, in the woods behind your house when you look out the window at 3 a.m. So,
The next time you're walking through the forest and feel like you're being watched. The next time you see a tall figure in your peripheral vision that disappears when you look directly. The next time your camera glitches for no reason. Just remember, he's not real. But what if he is? If you found this deep dive into internet horror fascinating and terrifying, smash that like button and subscribe for more explorations into the darkest corners of digital culture. Drop a comment below. Have you ever had a Slender Man experience? What's your theory on why he became so popular? And remember, some legends are better left uninvestigated. Some mysteries are safer when they stay unsolved. Until next time, stay curious, stay skeptical, and maybe stay out of the woods.